Welcome to FMM MTG Channel of Fire. I'm glad you guys are checking this out because this is my first deck tech, and as you know, I don't play online very much, so it's going to be a physical deck tech. I have my physical copy of the deck here, and I'll show you what I'm trying to do. But I'm doing a deck tech just because even though we're the Channel of Fire, I want to kind of explain why we're playing a green deck, specifically Elves. I played Elves for 4 years straight, starting from about 2014, I believe, to about 2018, and that's the only deck I played. And so as passion goes, I'm actually passionate about Elves as much as red decks, or in my case right now, Blue Moon. And I figured that there's a couple of new techs that make it very viable now. Now, I'm not saying tier 1 or even tier 1.5, but I believe it can make it to tier 2. And the flavor's great. You know, as most of you guys know, if you clicked on this link, you know that you love Elves just like I do. Just kind of a short past. It's nothing incredible, but I top 4. I made top 4 of a SCG IQ with Elves. I also made top 4 of a local mid-size tournament here called Monthly Modern Magic. Both links are in the below if you want to check out what I did in the past. Again, not like smashing success, but I have been very passionate and part of this community for a long time. Also, on MTG Salvation, the primer I helped build. So if you check out the black-green, or I don't think it's even black-green, if you check out the Elves primer, I wrote a very chunk of it about black-green Elves. So you can check that on MTG Salvation. I don't think it's super active now, but that's because Elves has been kind of on the decline. So without further ado, this is my deck that I'll be playing with for a while. Later on, Toaster is going to come, and obviously I want to play against Crazy Purgy with his Goblins deck and stuff like that too. So I'm really excited to test this out. I'm going to try to tweak it. There's many techs that I really want to make it work. So it's going to be Umori Elves with a companion. I feel like it fits really well because Elves produces a lot of mana. It needs a big body, but it doesn't need it in the main deck. So having a companion, 4/5 companion, is pretty big. And when you mulligan too, like Elves is really bad at mulliganing, but having the extra card makes it somewhat palpable. So we're going to, even though it's Channel of Fire, we're going to be inserting Elves quite a bit in the videos to come. Without further ado, this is the, and here is my deck. Sorry, I'm not very good at organizing, so it might be difficult to see. The mana's down here. We'll talk about the sideboard later, but mana's down here. I have 2 tokens that I wanted to show you guys. It's really awesome. It's the artist that did this Dwinin's Elite, and he signed one of them, so I thought that was kind of cool. I've been using this for roughly 3 years maybe. So those are my babies, but I'll put that aside, and maybe not interesting for you. As you can see, this is not Coco Elves, it's Umori Elves, and a couple things that are very, very interesting to note, especially specifically what metagame I think this can attack is the, like Japan, I'm in Japan, as you know, is the Japanese metagame, which tends to be more grindy. If you have Jund, or if you have control strategies, maybe you have a lot of blue, a lot of black, which Japan tends to lean towards, then I think this particular strategy works really well. And I'm going to be upfront about it. This is not going to be Storm. It's not going to be like beat a fast combo. It's not going to beat Titan strategies. It's going to be very difficult. So if your metagame is full of those very fast non-creature combo-y types, and even creature combo-y types, I think it's going to struggle. But any mid-range control strategy and even slower combos it can beat, because it's usually turn 4-ish. It used to be like if you touch white, green-white Elves, it's like turn 3.5. I think combo win, and especially if you have that the infinite mana combo too, that will be even faster. When I was in MTG Salvation, and by the way, it's Mike Dukes on MTG Salvation. If you're curious, you can check it out. I have a lot of comments there. We used to do a friendly debate to see, is it BG better than green white, and I was on the BG camp pretty early when Shaman was revealed, so I was kind of very pushing it pretty hardcore. But anyway, eventually kind of moved over to BG, and obviously it's kind of dissipated from the metagame now. But as you can see, this is very creature heavy. In fact, it's only creatures because we have a Sideboard Umori right here. I'm going to put that in here too. It's not in the main deck, but it's kind of in the main deck too. So what am I trying to do with this deck? Well, there's two avenues. One is I want to beat or win con. The win con is Shaman of the Pack, obviously, and Uzuri. But you can kind of do a pseudo combo, just kind of like Legacy Elves, with this Beast Whisperer. I know it's 4 mana, it's really hefty, it's heavy, and it's not instant speed like Coco, so obviously this is replacing the Coco. But what it does is it kind of sets up for this intense turn, especially if you have 2 Nettle Sentinels, and then you have a Druid here. Druid? This is in Italian. I forgot what the name of is in English, but you know what I'm talking about. So this produces a buttload of mana. With Beast Whisper, every 1 mana Elves is to draw a card, right? And it's kind of interesting because Beast Whisper works with non-elves as well. It's every creature is cast, not even entering the battlefield. So that makes it so that when you sideboard, and you sideboard in a lot of creature spells, because obviously Umori kind of constricts you that way, you get to draw a card even if you cast a Scavenging Ooze, for example. And so it's almost never dead. And in Japan, at least, when you bring in elves and they think that you're on Coco, they'll bring in Cage or something to stop Coco. And it kind of skirts around that as well. So a little bit slower. So we're kind of going a little bit slower. The combo is going to be now 4.5 turns, but with that kind of resiliency. And why that matters is because now with Renin 6, with the pingers, and then red storm-ish strategies like prowess and stuff like that, they really tax all these toughness 1 creatures. And so as I was thinking, and by the way, this is not particularly, I tweaked it a lot, but it's a list online. And so having a 3 toughness is huge, and being able to draw, even if they're pinging, is pretty big game too. So the reason why I'm going Elvish Visionary here instead of Clan Caller, which is the Lord, is because I believe it can replace itself, even if they drop a Renin 6 and kill it, right? So at least I'm not down a card, if you will. If it's Clan Caller, they just kill it and then you're dead. Yeah, it's a faster turn, it's a faster clock, but I mean at that point we're kind of giving up on the trying to beat people on turn 3 or 4 because we assume that there will be some kind of a disruption. So kind of going heavier, slightly slower, just slightly, and trying to beat the grindier games and kind of really beating those grindy control and mid-range strategies, but being fast enough to beat them, obviously, so that we don't have to worry about that in the main deck as well. And that, to that end, Umori really, really, really helps, because Umori, what it does, and I hope I'm saying that right, is that it gives you that 8th card, even if you, and as I said in the intro, even if you mulligan, then you're not down a card. And it also actually, the ability is not very irrelevant as well. You can, with Beast Whisperer, you can go comboing, because suddenly Elvish Visionary is a 1 mana spell, Archdruid is a 2 mana spell, and so on and so forth. So Umori helps in that sense. Now I go 4 Nettle Sentinels. This is kind of the slot that everybody cuts, down to 2, down to 3, down to 2 sometimes. I do like the 2 toughness aspect, and the fact that you can go beatdown plan, so you don't have to always go combo, which I think a lot of Elves players make a mistake. They immediately go, okay, I want to make a bunch of mana, I want to dump it into Uzuri and try to combo win. Well, that's not always the case. You want to kind of slow it down too, especially if they're not winning faster than you. If they're trying to grind it down too, you can play the grind game. You can chip if you're going against blue-white control, for example. You can go the chip 2, chip 2, chip 2, and then kind of keep your hand full for that expected Supreme Verdict, and then kind of keep that pressure. And then 2 damage is not low. I mean, it's not like there's a difference between 1 and 2. Huge difference in pressure. So as you can see, I'm on a budget version. You know, I have a family, I have a house. I don't have a lot of expendable income to be able to pour into cardboard. So this I've had for years. I used to have Cavernous Souls. You can see the list down below. The ones that I top forward do have Cavernous Souls. I don't right now. I'm hoping eventually I'll start, you know, buying a little bit at a time and kind of making it the maximum possible. But I believe Elves operates without Cavernous Souls fairly well. In fact, I did win a smallish tournament several times without Cavernous Souls. So I was like, yeah, it's important. It's very important, but I don't think it's vital to the deck that it doesn't run. So I like the one Pendelhaven against. This is again against Renin 6 or pingers like Gut Shot, whatever. You can kind of catch them by, well, it's not by surprise because obviously they see it, but you can kind of protect your 1 toughness creatures as well. So this is the main deck. And again, the goal is to beat mid-range or control strategies. We have, what was I going to say? Oh, here, this slot, Elvish Champion, this slot is kind of negotiable, I think, because like if you, again, my goal is to beat mid-range strategies, including Jund, green strategies, what have you, and even like Jund Shadow or what have you. So being able to go through, if they have just 1 forest, is pretty big game for me. This can be other lords if you want. Obviously, the visionary slot can be clan callers if you want. This is my secret weapon that I found on the internet. Again, this is not my idea per se, but it says Hekikyo Umare no Hogosha, whatever that is in English. I don't know. Here, I'll show you. You can look it up. I like my camera, that's for sure. Although it doesn't really adjust. No, my camera. Anyway, so haste has reach. Whenever a non-elf creature is or when it enters the battlefield, I can pay X, whatever X is, and then I can put +1/+1 counters on this. So this is kind of like your anti-big creatures, right? So let's say they have a big creature coming down, like maybe it's a later on Utos is going to bring Tron, right? E-Tron. And so it could be some big Eldrazi or something. You can surprise them, dump mana into this, although I guess you can't do that. You have to cast another one. So anyway, the point is make this guy big so that this guy can fight against Eldrazi, etc. And I do like the fact that it's instant. It kind of skirts around the anger of the gods, what have you, and you can kind of surprise them a little bit. And so I'm going to try this. I don't know. We might take it out later. So again, later on, Utoasters is coming in about an hour. We will record that. We'll stream that and see how that goes. Yeah, that is the main deck. On to sideboarding. All right, and this is my sideboard, and I know what you're thinking already because you're like, wait, Mike Dukes, something's wrong. And you're right, something is wrong. All 5 cards down here are not creatures. And you're going, well, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, I should probably add the Umori itself to the sideboard here. Over here. And you're right. I did a lot of thinking here, and this part is kind of theory crafting, but so the cards that you're bringing in non-creature spells are the decks that you really don't want to grind out anyway, right? And I believe Companion works that way, in which you don't have to reveal it, and then you can just play it in normal sideboard. And then it says the starting deck has to be constricted to its rules, which means that the sideboard doesn't. So you can bring in non-creature spells, not reveal Umori, and just play it as a 60-card deck. I believe that's how it works. Now, trash me in the comments if not. I did a lot of searching, and that's my interpretation. And so if we're going against combo decks in which like speed is the name of the game, or disrupting them is the name of the game, right? In Tron, right? Then we really don't need this extra card, especially since this is a grindy card and slow anyway. And so what we do is we refit our main board to be like a normal Elves deck, and try to beat the Tron, because I think we can beat Tron as long as we disrupt them long enough. We don't need that many cards to do it. And also have a chance against the Titan strategies or combo strategies that rely on one or few cards, right? Now, what we are kind of not giving up, but letting go of, if you will, are like dredge strategies, because we don't have a lot of graveyard. We only have 2, and this is like very incomprehensive. This obviously comes in as well because you can kill certain creatures that recur over and over again, like Bloodghast. And then obviously we're doing heavy against artifacts, burn. These 2 are for burn, but these 5, I believe, come in when you don't need that card advantage engine. So we take out a Beast Whisperer, and we bring this in. We have enough creatures to beat down, disrupt them long enough, Shaman, trigger, and win. And that's kind of what I'm going for. The rest, though, are creatures. These are creatures. So if you bring in, for example, against burn, you're not going to bring in any of these 5. Against burn, you're going to bring in this, and maybe even the Rex Sages. And obviously the Scavenging Ooze, in order to be able to operate still under Umori, right? Because they're all creatures. So I believe this is the direction that this deck can take. I saw some lists, and there are not a lot of lists anymore. Probably a lot to do with COVID, obviously, and the fact that people can't play in person. And Elves players, I think, tend to like the fact that they have a lot of Elves in and they want to show off their Elves. But so we don't see a lot of lists. But the list I did see kind of leaned one way or the other. It's like all creatures, you have to disrupt them using creatures. And one list was very interesting. It was a 3-color list. It touched white in order to have creatures like Gaddock Teague in order to stop Supreme Verdict or Scape Shift and stuff like that. And so that I want to try that. That's a cool list, but I don't think you have to be one or the other. I mean, as long as I'm reading the rules right, you don't have to reveal the companion in the 2nd or 3rd game against combo decks, and then bring these disruptive against combo. In this case, it's like hard control, in order to have game against them and not lose too much on our side. Again, this deck tech is going to be meaningless if that doesn't work out. Obviously, I'll change this section and I'll resubmit the deck tech, make it all creatures, if you will. But I think that's how it works, and that's how we're going to try it with you, Toaster, today. Let me know in the comments. But I think this is a really good strategy and a good way to go, and you don't lose out a lot. Especially this engineer, plague engineer. Plague engineer, I think that's what it is. Anyway, Ikibyo Shikumono. This guy is pretty big game, like against, because it's only their creatures. Taisen Aite ga, it's their creatures that it affects. So you can actually disrupt goblin strategies fairly effectively, even though now they're like a turn faster than you are. So I'm thinking even going like more sideboard than 1. Like I only have 1 here. And then I might just drop the choke, because choke is kind of redundant. We're trying to beat blue strategies by grinding them out, and then the fact that we have choke is kind of like, okay, why are you bringing in non-creature spells and then losing Umori? I get that. So I might lose this and then go Plague Engineer, or maybe another Ooze, whatever. So this is kind of like an iffy card, but everything else, I really do see this as a kind of a winning strategy. So we'll see. Hang there. If you're just here for the deck tech, welcome to Channel Fire FMM. We do mostly red decks, always red decks. I love red. Red is my favorite color. But there's one exception, and this is the Elves. I've played for 4 years. I love it. So, hey, let me know in comments if you've been working on Elves, if you love Elves, if you think it's viable. Let me know if you guys are doing it. Elves community tends to be like really tight-knit, especially we were in MTG Salvation when we were really active. We're just really respectful to each other. We love the fact that everybody's playing Elves, and we celebrate each other's successes as well. And so if you are like active online or in a scene, in a local scene, and then you guys, hey, this Elves strategy worked, I'd love to know. I really want to get back into the Elves game. I want to collect all the cards too, including Captains of Souls. I don't know how that's going to happen. Hey, maybe I'll start a GoFundMe if you guys are excited about it as I am. So anyway, put that aside. We are really excited, or I'm excited to get back in the Elves train. Enjoy the content, rest of the content. Stay on the channel, like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you around.